The Passover of the Jews was near, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. Making a whip of cords, he drove all of them out of the temple, both the sheep and the cattle. He also poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. He told those who were selling doves, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." The Jews then said to him, "What sign can you show us for doing this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews then said, "This temple has been under construction for 46 years, and you will raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking of the temple of his body. After he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this, and they believed the scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken.
Reflecting on the Gospel reading this morning is particularly challenging, as this is a year when I have spent so little time in the temple, which in my case is the cathedral in Wells. As we hear the account of Jesus turning over the tables in the temple and whipping the livestock, it is a difficult image to visualise. So far away are we from the time when cathedrals were marketplaces jostling with traders and animals. But we can still hear the message of the need for cleansing that is a familiar part of the Lenten story. We can still hear the echoes of the beginning of Jesus' walk to the cross and the early signs of the one final sacrifice from Jesus himself, replacing the custom of animal sacrifice. And we can still begin to hear of future hope and the glimpse of resurrection. I wonder how this might translate in my own Lenten journey this year, in a world of uncertainty and fragility, a world of pandemic, a world where climatic extremes of water and fire are increasingly present. Lent is always a dynamic process, a progression towards Holy Week and Easter, a time for personal reflection and growth, for cleansing, if you like. And maybe this year it is easier to think about this journey outside the temple and in the world, maybe in the wilderness of our current situation. For me, the hardest experience of wilderness was in the time after the death of my husband. The landscape of my world was utterly changed, and I began the journey of grief, known to many, walking partly voluntarily and partly involuntarily, slightly withdrawn from the world. In my wilderness, it was a rough road, full of uncertainty, pain and change, and nothing was normal anymore. How often do we hear that phrase today? "I wish it would all go back to normal. When it gets back to normal, I will do so-and-so." This year, we will all have our own personal wilderness. The landscapes of everyone's lives has changed, through bereavement in all its forms, through fear of illness, through financial and job insecurity, through loneliness, through the anxieties and depression of uncertainty, and through the chaos of juggling demands of homeschooling and working via technology alone. How might we walk forward in these different landscapes we inhabit? One blessing of lockdown is the greater sense of importance that has become attached to taking a walk. Many people take a walk every day, and for those not able to, some may take a walk in their imagination. Walking moves you forward, step by little step, and within that process your journey of self-discovery can continue. Many of us are walking alone or with just one other. So these walks can become a time of deep reflection or deep conversation. Times to listen, maybe to God or maybe to our friend, and then to respond. Here are the moments that help us move on from the wilderness and the cause of our wilderness. And it seems that we're often more able to grow from our times of adversity, partly because in these times we question more, and also because in these times we're often set slightly apart from our usual lives and have more time to reflect and are given more opportunity to open ourselves to God and discover our need to walk more closely with Him. As we walk with God, exploring our inner selves and our relationship with Him and how we might start afresh, so also our attention might be caught by the world around us. Might there be an opportunity in these Lenten walks to consider if our responsibility as stewards of this planet also needs to be cleansed and reset? Perhaps we might ponder on God's nurturing of us and how we might in turn nurture His creation. We are learning that climate change and pandemic go hand in hand, and so this Lent might be the moment to seize the learning from this last year and strive to refresh our determination to address the issues of our natural world. But lest we feel too gloomy, as we walk each day we will notice new signs of growth. A primrose, green shoots, buds on the willow, a daffodil determinedly pushing its bright yellow head forward to the sun. Small pockets of beauty offering signs of hope, and moments that reveal God's glory in our midst. Sometimes it has felt that this pandemic will never end, but for me it is rather remarkable to have this time of Lent just as we have been given a timetable for a slow coming out of lockdown. Surely it provides a timely opportunity for reflection and hopefully growth in ourselves from our own individual wilderness, but also growth for us as a people in a time of pandemic, while we are making plans for our world's emergence. This Lent is giving us a space to choose for this pandemic to be a time of growth and refreshing. I hope the phrase "when we get back to normal" will stop being said, because my prayer for this Lent is that as we move out of lockdown, we will carry with us not only the reflections we have had from our own individual wildernesses, but resolutions for our society, so that in our plans we strive to not just go back to the old normal, but to move forward to a new future where our relationship with God is reset and a more caring and equal world emerges.